Today on Trucker Tank, we have John Highley. He is the owner of the truck called Freebird. Now, I think everybody knows that truck by now. It's got Last of the Cowboys on the back. And he's also, I don't think, you don't own Scooter. Scooter owns you. So he's also got the legendary dog Scooter, who Tony Justice calls Hooch or something. I can't remember, but
yeah, he called him Hooch in one of his videos.
So, John, welcome to the show. And
nice to be here.
I really appreciate you being there. And for those who don't know, John is also part of the BullSnot posse, and so we know each other extremely well. But what I want to talk to John about today is start with. John has a very interesting haul. In most of the hauls he does, he hauls for rock stars and country music singers and the whole entertainment industry. And so that's going to be a little bit different than what most people haul. So, John, can you tell us a little bit about what to expect if somebody wants to go into the hauling for the rock stars, the musicians, and maybe even tell us a little bit about some of the more interesting things you've gotten into?
Yeah, man, it's I like the work that I do because we get to see the completion of our job. You know, we get to move the show in. We get to see the guys do their work, set everything up, see the people come in, enjoy the show, and then tear it down and do another one the next day. I've done for the last 20 years. I've been involved a lot in trade shows, concert tours, some TV production for like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Just a lot of specialized stuff. I have a lift gate on the trailer, which gives me a lot of diversity and the different things I can do. So gives you the ability to unload in places that don't have a dock. So there's a special call for that a lot. As far as the entertainment, I got to talk about this because it's kind of cool. We just recently had Green Day on tour, and we played the Metro Club up in Chicago, played Lollapalooza. And when they came into the Metro Club in their limo van, I guess they must have really liked Freebird because they took a video of it and then put it on their TikTok. I don't follow them on TikTok, but yeah, my phone started blowing up that night with Green Day coming in and taking a video of the truck. They thought it was pretty cool, and I thought that was pretty cool that they liked it. And then we went out. We had a huge show out in San Francisco because they're from East Bay, so that was a hometown show for them. And just things like that make it real interesting. You get to see a lot of the inside of how things actually work in the concerts, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, I saw that video with Green Day. They were going, "Oh wow!"
Right. Yeah.
and I think they was really impressed with the Harley on your truck. If you don't, for those who haven't seen Freebird is basically a home on wheels. Because John has got everything you'd have at your house. So he's got not only a sleeper cab but a extended cab, and then behind it he has his motorcycle, and then he has hooks up to the trailer. And John's trailer is a little bit different than most everybody else's as well. I mean, the floors are polished. I mean, it really is a show trailer in and of itself, and then his truck is a show truck. Case in point, how cool it is, at Tony Justice's Large Cars and Guitars truck show, they only had one award at that show, and that was the Kids Award. The kids actually, all the kids that come to the show, they got to vote, and they got to vote on what they thought was the coolest truck at the show, and Freebird won. So that was pretty crazy, and a lot of kids do come up and look at your truck. I know that. So,
well, I think it's mostly about Scooter. Scooter's my campaign manager and my PR man.
yeah. But Scooter, for those who don't know, is John's dog, and everybody loves Scooter. He's the friendliest dog in the world. He begs for attention. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Scooter? How did you get Scooter?
Oh, well, we were getting ready to go out on tour with Smashing Pumpkins for their 30-year reunion tour in 2018. And a buddy of mine had picked up Scooter at a truck stop in New Hampshire. And I met my buddy up in Iowa, and he got his dog out of the truck and took it for a walk, and then he got Scooter out of the truck, and I looked over, and this little dog was just about half starved in pretty bad condition, not real healthy. And I called the dog and finally got him to come to me. He was pretty scared and pretty timid. When I got him, he just stretched out across my stomach there and rooted his little nose up underneath my beard and just kind of settled in. And my buddy looked at me. He goes, "Yep, you just got a dog." And that's where it all began. And Scooter's been with me ever since. He's never missed a trip.
Yeah, but that's the best kind of dogs when somebody throws one out and you can pick them up and make them your dogs. Three of the best dogs I ever had in my life were the exact same thing. They were found on the side of the road, and
right,
and they were phenomenal dogs, and they just to me they know they're loved and want to be loved, and they just go out of their way to make you feel loved. And
yeah, they used to tease me and said the reason he's so well behaved was he was afraid he'd end up homeless again if he didn't watch his P's and Q's.
No, I actually think you'd wind up homeless because Scooter kicked you out of the truck.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Oh Lord! Hey, and for people that want to see John's truck, it was recently featured in Elegance on 18 wheels, and they did a phenomenal job on videoing your truck, and it's a great video. It's on YouTube. I'll put a link to that video below this on one of the posts. So anybody who wants to see John's truck, all you got to do is go to the link below, and you can see it. And,
yeah, Quinn McClinton is the owner of Elegance on 18 Wheels, and it's kind of funny because he does all the house photography for ARI, the sleeper builders up in Shipshawana. And my salesman had a picture of my truck on his wall up there, and Quinn was in there one day, and he said, "Who is the owner of that Kenworth?" He said, "I've got to talk to that guy." Well, it took a little over 4 years. Quinn and I exchanged a lot of phone calls, but just could never be in the same place at the same time. And we were over at the Kenworth Days deal over in Chillicothe, Ohio, and Quinn came down to do a shoot down there, and we were able to get together and do a little interview and do the photo shoot. And he had let me know then that the truck made the calendar for 2023 for Elegance on 18 Wheels.
Well, that's awesome. That's probably the first calendar you ever made. And that's fantastic. Well, what's the most interesting thing you've gotten into, or as far as dealing with the bands, as far as a situation where you had to maybe, it was very difficult to get in there or get out? I mean, what cities or venues do you hate the most?
Some of the venues we do where they're doing festivals, those can be very challenging because they try to put the stage in the place that they think is most appealing, where they get the crowd in there, and don't really put a whole lot of thought into how we're going to get the trucks in and out. They usually build temporary dock setups if they have docks at all, which is usually just truss or scaffolding with stage decking on it. So you can't really bump the dock with the trailers. If not, you're going to knock everything loose. So you've got to have a lot of people on hand watching and trying to squeeze trucks in. Sometimes we have to back down golf cart trails in the middle of the night. So it can get challenging. We just did the Outlands Festival in San Francisco, out at the kind of out by Golden Gate Park, and that one was, anybody who's ever been to downtown San Francisco before knows that it's not a real truck friendly town. But you go in the middle of the night where you can take all the roads up, and you let your guys know what you're getting into, and then you just deal with it. This last one, we had specific directions going in because of the road closures, and next thing you know, we're meeting a 13-1 bridge. So we had to do some backing up and a little shifting around, a couple of illegal turns, but we got it in there and got the job done.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a nightmare on some of these venues. I mean, in some of these cities, Lord have mercy, there to get the big truck, because what's your length on your wheelbase?
My tractor is a 346 wheelbase. Overall length, front to rear, I'm 85 feet.
Yep, and that's in and of itself is a challenge when you start backing and getting in tight spaces, and you probably in some of these spaces you only have a couple of feet or a foot on each side to get in there, though. So
it gets a little interesting sometimes.
And at the recent show that I was just at with John, we were up at Perryville, Missouri. I got him to back Tony's trailer and my trailer, so he is a professional, folks. So, but on a different front, the whole trucker brotherhood and spirit of trucking, you're doing something right now that is just phenomenal to me, and it's something that a lot of more experienced drivers I wish they did, and that is you're mentoring a young man who wants to be a trucker. So,
Correct.
can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, we were over at Bottomley's show last year, and I had been, I had the truck backed up by the stage there with, showing off the last of the cowboys and everything. And excuse me, it was about a half an hour before Tony started his show, and I'd been, you know, letting people play with the dog all day, all the moms and dads and kids. It's all about the dog. And I had finally gotten a little break, and I walked back there and talked to Tony before the show, and I saw a young man standing up there. And I told Tony, I said, I'll be back in a second. So I walked up there, and right off the bat, the young man started asking technical questions, about did I have the Cummins X15 in there, performance efficiency, 18 speed. Asking a lot of questions. And when his mom came over, he introduced me to his mom. And I, without knowing, I said, well, I take it your dad drives truck. And she said, well, his dad did. He passed away last year of cancer. And this kid is just absolutely ate up. He's consumed with trucks. He's just like I was at 15. He doesn't have a whole lot of interest in the new trucks or the new truck style. He's got his heart set on an A model Kenworth. He wants to do it the old way. And after he left, they came and watched the show and everything, and he got my social media information. And after they left that evening, Tony looked at me and he goes, we got to help this young man out. And I said, yep, you're right, we do. So we spent a lot of time introducing him to, like Trucker G and, other people in the industry, Mitchell Bottomley, and took him to Louisville. Well, introduced him to you, obviously. And he's kind of getting around the industry, learning a lot of things, meeting a lot of people. Spent a little time out on the road and just basically learning the ropes. And he's the kind of young person that when that passion is there for the industry, that's the kind of person that makes a good driver. And we're going to do everything we can to help this young man through and make sure that his dreams and goals are within reach,
Yeah, I mean, he's a great kid too. Like you said, I've met him several times, and he's just a great kid. He still eat up with the wanting to be a truck driver. And you're actually taking him on some trips with you to really teach him how to be a professional driver.
Yeah, we've been working on that, and just trying to let him see. I started riding with my dad when I was 5 years old, and you learn so much along the way, and without that knowledge, without that experience, one of the great things is I was on a video call with him one night. I was going through Houston. It was about 1:30 in the morning. And I told him, I said, hey, and I had the camera facing forward, because he'll watch as I drive when we're on the phone. And I said, hey, so watch this car up here. I said, you got a drunk up here. And he was able to see, how this car was reacting and how I reacted to handle it. And he asked me, he said, why don't you pass the guy like the cars are doing? I said, because he's doing sudden movements. I said, whereas a car can gas on it and get by this guy, I said, I can't. I'm just going to have to sit back here. Obviously, I've called the police and everything. And I said, but I said, it's one of the things where when we're going into this world of autonomous vehicles, this is going to be one of the problems because a truck could see the car doing something, like leaving its lane or something, and the truck will hold back until the truck gets the lane clear. Then it's going to go around that car. The autonomous truck doesn't realize that there's a problem that keeps on going on with this driver. And I explained all that to Sean. I said, I said, I'm not trying to get off on another subject here, but it was a really good teachable moment, to have him where he was looking out the windshield and seeing how this car was reacting. And I told Sean, I go, he'll go from the right lane to the left lane, and then at the last minute, he'll take an exit ramp. Sometimes they wreck when they hit the exit ramp. Sometimes they take the ramp and shoot right back on. And sure enough, Sean got to see all this layout right in front of his eyes, And seeing things like that, I think, is very beneficial to the future of a driver because they're already getting experience and things like that.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. And talking about autonomous vehicles, I've been to a lot of talks where that's a subject that comes up very readily, and we're a long ways from that. I mean, despite
We
what
are.
everybody says, we're still 20 to 30 years out. And even when we get to that point where they're going to be on the interstates, you still got to have truckers for the final mile to get it to the interstate and then to get it off the interstate. So
Right.
the people that think truck driving as a career is going to go away, they're wrong. It's not going to go away. I mean,
No,
case in
it's
point.
not. I'll tell you, man. This, and Sean has obviously expressed some concerns about this because this is
Hmm.
what he wants to do with his life. And I told him, I said we're a long ways from the completion of this. I said, no, we're going to be testing it. Yeah, we're going to be testing it. And there's going to be mistakes that are made, but technology breeds technology, and we haven't quite reached that point yet where we're ready for it. But I told him, I said, there's so many aspects of this industry, whether it be RGN, flatbed. I said, find something where the driver has to be hands on. That's
Yep.
like with what I do. So much of the stuff that I do is on wheels. It's roll cases, and the
Yeah.
loads settle, the loads shift a little bit. So I get 150 miles down the road, I've got to open the doors and check straps, make sure everything's riding like it's supposed to. There's nobody to jump out of an autonomous truck and do that.
No, or fuel it. I mean, that's the other thing. You still got
Correct.
to fuel
Yeah.
it. And but the closest and most logical one that I've heard that potentially could get here in the next decade or decade and a half was remote control trucks, just like drones, and that would be
Right.
you'd still have a professional driver that still be controlling the truck, but they'd be able to do it from home. And so one driver could take a 10-hour shift, and then when that driver was done with the 10-hour shift, that the other driver can pick. They may be in California, and one may be in Georgia, and one may be in New York, but that driver would seamlessly transfer the controls off to the next driver, and that truck would never stop. And so that's feasible. I mean, you know what we could do with drones with airplanes today. We certainly could do that with trucks. It's just the taking the driver knowledge and the professional driver completely out of the equation ain't gonna happen. And it's just we're not there. We're nowhere close to being there. And like you
Well,
said, load shifts. You still got to be able to do that.
anytime somebody
Go
speaks
ahead,
to me
John.
about autonomous trucks coming out, I always ask them the same question. I say, would you get on an airplane today that did not have a pilot in the seat? And they say no. I said, but you're okay with putting your family in a car next to a 80,000 pound truck that doesn't have a driver in the seat? And that usually kind of
And
changes their mind a little bit.
yeah, answers no. They're not okay with that.
Right.
So, but it is what it is. That's all you can say.
Well,
Well, well,
as Sean obviously expresses concerns about the future of the industry, as any young person would, and I always try to reassure him and say, but I said I look at the changes that have happened. I've been doing this for 35 years now, and looking back to 35 years ago, the changes have been unbelievable almost. I never thought that we'd see the kind of technology that we have today. And I told Sean, I said, if you love the industry, like I know you do, I said, you'll adapt to the changes. They may not
yes,
be very
yep.
appealing to you today, but you will adapt.
I think electric trucks at some point might be more feasible than driverless trucks. Driverless trucks is just too far stretched. The technology is not there. Just like the technology, everybody's wanting to come off of fossil fuels and
Right.
and go to green energy. Technology's not there to support that green energy. It's just that simple. You cannot generate enough unless you go to all nuclear, and you could call that green energy.
Well, man,
Nuclear,
it's interesting you bring that up because I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and I said, the thing that we keep forgetting is that technology breeds technology. Right now our
it
biggest
does.
concern is the mining and the size of the batteries and the disposal of the batteries. I said, but you got to think back. I
Yep.
said, used to. I said, a computer filled a building. I said, now we've got a device in our hand, our cell phone, that is what 1,000 times more efficient than the computers that used to be room size. And I said, who knows it? one of these days,
Yeah.
the battery that powers these cars might be the size of a Zippo lighter, you know? I said,
I
technology breeds technology.
actually, I believe you're going to see hydrogen powered cars that will replace the electric vehicles. Hydrogen, water's the most abundant thing on Earth, and that technology keeps advancing. We knew how to ignite water or the hydrogen, 20 years ago. I mean,
Right.
so you just fuel it with water, and the emissions oxygen, and what you're burning is hydrogen, and so that's. I think BMW is coming out with a hydrogen powered car in about 3 years. So
Really?
you're going to see it. You're going to see it sooner than later, and then you just have to advance the technology to where you could actually do large cars.
Right. Right.
So I think that's going to be probably where the future is. You're going to have electric trucks because they know how to do it, but that's not the end game at all. I don't think. With my
Well,
limited knowledge.
I hope it doesn't change a whole lot more while I'm finishing up my stint.
Yeah, you only got 20 more years, John.
Oh yeah, yeah, right.
If you're going to catch up with Joe Denny, you're going to have to truck at least 20 more years.
I hear you.
Well, do you have any words of wisdom for the younger generation that's looking into coming into trucking as we, close the show?
You take away what you put in. If you love this life, you love this industry, then you find your place in it, and you do the job right. I see so much of the younger. I don't want to say younger drivers because there's some damn good young drivers out there. Listen to the old folks. Find you a mentor. Listen to the old
Amen.
guys. The ones that have been out here and got a couple million under their belt without tearing anything up. Those are the guys you want to listen to. And there's a lot of good advice out there. There's a lot of bad advice too. But most people with common sense can figure out which is the right stuff to listen to. But the old people, the old guys, they've got some good knowledge to pass on.
And slow down at truck stops. It is not
slow down
in
truck
race.
stops. Yep, it's not a drag
gracious.
race. And the biggest thing, I'll say something my dad used to always tell me, and I know this isn't too popular these days, but Dad always told me, he said, first and foremost, above everything, he said, make sure all the people around you make it home to eat dinner with their families. He said, even the ones that piss you off. He said, because they deserve to live too.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. But your dad was a very wise man. Well,
I think so.
I think so too. You've told me enough about him where I totally agree. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Trucker Tank. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate everybody watching. And John, thank you so much for being our guest today.
I appreciate it. I had fun.
I did too. See you, buddy.
All right. Take care.